Hey, welcome back to TheLanCave. This is Libris. I, of course, am Owen. This month, I was looking through my library, and I am always a sucker for tactical RPGs. And since Square Enix has decided that they never, ever want to give us another Final Fantasy Tactics, I always have to look elsewhere. So, what I did is I went and picked up Wargroove. So I've had my eye on this title for quite a while. Like many times, as I'm sure I will say as this show goes forward, other games just kept pulling me away. But it's time to take Wargroove off the shelf, give it a look. Let's see if we'll check it out or if we will shelve it forever. Let's roll that intro. Hey, I'm Owen, and I'm living as a nerd as we do here in the LanCave. Recently I did realize I own over 500 games across all my various systems, and I haven't played even half of them. So join me each month as I take a trip to my game library, dust off the shelves, and play a game I've never played before. This is Ex Libris. So as we will be starting with this, we would like to go with the game Facts. I wanted to say something clever like FAQ-TS, but whenever I think about it, I'm like, game facts. So I'm playing around with that. Let me know what you think. But Wargroove, like I said, is a tactical RPG. It was developed and published by Chucklefish and came out in 2019 for Windows, Switch, and Xbox One, and then it later came to PlayStation 4. So if you're looking to pick it up, it's available virtually everywhere right now. This game was inspired by Advance Wars, which is a popular Nintendo published game on Game Boy Advance back all the way in 2001. Which, fun fact about that, just like they've done historically, Nintendo kind of thought about not bringing Advance Wars over to the US because they think that we wouldn't like turn-based RPG games such as this. That sounds a little bit familiar, like when a little game called Final Fantasy was gonna possibly come out, among other things. So let's talk about the game. There is a arcade option unlocked once you complete Act 1 of this. There's also a co-op feature, and then really cool, there's a feature to download custom maps that other people have made, as well as make your own maps for the game. But for the purposes of this show, I just went with the basic campaign. We streamed it over at facebook.com/TheLanCave, as we always do. I played it for about an hour. A little bit about the story of Wargroove. This game starts out, weirdly, you are playing a vampire named Sigrid. That's how I'm choosing to say it. I don't know if that's absolutely correct. And you assassinate King Merciful of Cherrystone. At this point, you take over as the newly crowned queen, Mercia, and your land now faces an invasion by the undead led by the necromancer Valder. And that is pretty much the extent of the story that I experienced. The majority of my time I was spent doing the tutorial missions, as you do whenever it comes to tactical RPGs. The first thing that stood out to me whenever I was playing the game is that there is an economy that exists within each level. So not only do you have the characters that you control/command, like Mercia and her soldiers, but there's also a barracks that exists on the map. There can be more than one barracks, it seems. And then there is like townsfolk or houses or whatever you'd like to call them that you can occupy, which then generate money for you so that you can build even more military forces. I thought this was really cool. It really struck me as something that you would see in real-time strategy games, how you have your peons, what is it, going back and forth and getting you gold. This one's a little bit more basic. You just take over the house and it generates gold for you on a turn-by-turn basis, but then you turn around and use that gold to generate more military. I thought that's really cool because not only does it allow you to build different types of your soldiers, but it also allows you to have a little bit of comeback maneuvers. If you happen to lose one, it's not completely detrimental. You can generate another one. However, on the flip side of that, I did see from a difficulty standpoint that if you made the wrong mistakes setting up early on in the level, that could probably come back to bite you. And I actually had a game over in one of the tutorial missions, which is probably a little embarrassing, but then what I found out is that the difficulty setting is on hard by default. It even says hard default, hard default. That was interesting to me that the developer decides to put hard as the default instead of what would normally be called normal. So I found that to be pretty strange. But that aside, I really like the combat style. I think the animations probably get a little old, and I would probably be skipping a lot of them after I had seen the different units attack patterns, because they do have like little cool animations that go with them. But once you've seen them once, you've seen them as many times as you need to see them. But that said, the art was cool that went with it. I'm glad that they took the time to put that in there. It's not just a simple like character walks up, points, and over. I thought that was fun. Some smaller things that I noticed, there is a little bit of comedy going on the scenes. There's one particular thing that has already recurred once that I hope is a reoccurring theme throughout the game. At the very beginning, when Mercia is leaving to go out into the field of battle, her crown falls off her head, and you see a soldier picking it up and be like, oh no, wait. And then on the next level after that, you beat the level, and as Mercia is leaving again, that you see the soldier putter on the screen and like, no. And so there is a little bit of comedy there. There's some little facial animations that they do with some of the different characters in the cutscenes. So I'm glad that it's not trying to take itself too seriously while still having a serious premise. I mean, the game does start with you assassinating a king, which is, you know, kind of a big deal, and you start as the enemy in this to assassinate the king. So I also wonder if at some point you get to play the necromancer side of things. I think that would be a cool way to add replayability to the game, but I don't know if that exists. So if that's something that you're interested in, check that out. Another thing that stood out was the soundtrack. It sounds great. As we mentioned, it was kind of developed in the tone of Advance Wars for Game Boy Advance, so it still has that visual feel. However, they did take the time to introduce a really great soundtrack that you can really hear from the opening credits of the game. The music does seem to bring it up another level. There's even some minor voice acting in there, sometimes where they're talking and they have the on-text screen and then a voice is like, yeah, okay. It's fun. I don't know that I particularly care for it. I will probably turn the volume down on that if I continue to play it. But they took the time to add those kinds of things in there, because that's what you can do with current gen tech. So, the verdict. Am I going to check it out or shelve it? In this case, for episode 1, not just because it's episode 1, but because I actually really enjoyed my time with it, I am going to check it out. Why am I going to check this one out? I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a sucker for a good tactical RPG. I'm not very good at them, but for some reason, I just love playing them. I find myself having a lot of fun being able to choose a mission, play that mission, and have that be my playtime for the day. Sometimes if I'm feeling it and I have the time, I move on to the next mission after that, but you have in front of you a solid hour, maybe 2, depending on how long the map is, and that has always just struck me as fun. And with the different mechanics that they have in this game, where you have that in-level economy and you have the taking over the places on the map, so it's not just unit on unit fighting, it is trying to strategically take over the map so that you have the most resources to help you win. That was fun, and so I am going to check out the campaign at least. The arcade mode sounded interesting, so I want to check that out as well for sure. And then there was some custom maps on there that sounded cool, so I'm curious what people were able to do with that. So for the first episode of Ex Libris, thank you very much for joining us. We are going to check out Wargroove.